The Galaxy S26 Ultra's design update may make it more comfortable to handle. The new S26 Ultra leak claims that it may offer a design improvement that may make it more comfortable to grip than its predecessor. Samsung's first Galaxy S Ultra series smartphone, the S20 Ultra, has rounder sides. The model that arrived the year after, a Galaxy S21 Ultra, followed its predecessor's path. However, with the Galaxy S22 Ultra, Samsung modified the design philosophy. It had sharper corners, which made the device look futuristic and mean. The two versions that came following it, the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the Galaxy S24 Ultra, also shared the same design language. While the boxy form looked beautiful, the sharp corners also bit into your hand, which wasn't something users loved. To solve that, Samsung went back to rounded corners with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, making it much more comfortable to use, similar to its direct competition, the Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max, which has even more rounded corners. Now, we have evidence that with its next product in the range, the Galaxy S26 Ultra, Samsung is doubling down on rounded corners. On X, a prominent tipster, Ice Universe, reports that the S26 Ultra's 4 corners have gotten rounder. With it, the device should feel more comfortable to grasp in the hand. Some may suggest that the South Korean tech giant is following Apple's footsteps, but Samsung could be merely making an attempt to make the user experience better. Previous reports suggest that the Galaxy S26 Ultra will be slimmer and lighter than its predecessor. That paired with more rounded sides, the tablet might be a delight to handle. However, it is also predicted to be higher and wider, so that may nullify the other advantages. Hopefully, we will get to view its renders soon, which should give us a clearer sense about its design. That means there will be 3 phones in the flagship series, unlike this year's range. Right present, there are actually 4, including the Edge. Next year, Plus is going away in favor of Edge, which is effectively the new Plus. It remains to be seen what further adjustments Samsung has planned. In terms of the screen, we're still expecting a 6.9-inch AMOLED panel. However, Ice Universe indicates it'll feature color filter on encapsulation, depolarizer technology, and third-generation anti-reflective glass. The S25 Ultra features a brilliant display that's excellent for watching videos, but the anti-reflective glass for the S26 Ultra could further decrease reflections while watching material under brighter conditions or outside. This would be amazing, but it'll be fascinating to watch if Samsung improves its brightness. That's because in our own tests, the S25 Ultra hit a peak brightness of 1860 nits, making it one of the brightest in a flagship, only eclipsed by the Pixel 9 Pro XL with its 2649 nit reach. Beyond that, it's impossible to determine what else Samsung could tweak or introduce around the display. In recent years, Samsung has been relatively consistent with the release date of its S-series phones. While the phones used to come in spring, as late as May 29, in the case of the Galaxy S3, starting 2019, the devices have been issued no later than March 6 with launch events conducted in January or February. It's been trending earlier too. The Samsung Galaxy S25 released on February 7, whereas the S24 premiered on January 31. In other words, it's quite likely that the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra will be on shelves by mid-February, with an event roughly 2 weeks before release day. The key question is whether Samsung will want to hike the price in 2026. The Galaxy S25 Ultra launched at $1,299, escalating to $1,419 for 512 gig storage, or $1,659 for 1 terabyte, which is the same set of MSRP as its predecessor. The 3 Ultra handsets before that started at $1,199, so hopefully it's a good omen that things will stay unchanged for another year. Another bright sign. It's been rumored that the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 expected to power the upcoming phones won't cost Samsung more than the Gen 1. If true, there's one less added expense that Samsung might pass on to the consumer. For the past few generations of the Ultra, Samsung has counted on Qualcomm to power its flagships. However, there could be a change with the S26 Ultra because it's believed to employ the Snapdragon 8 Elite 2 chipset, and perhaps an in-house Exynos one for select markets. Early speculations point to Samsung opting with the Exynos 2600 chipset in select areas, which came from notorious leaker Jukanos Reeve. However, the leaker goes on to claim that, due to reportedly low yield, it is likely to be equipped mainly in European models. If accurate, this would be a return to a previous norm for Samsung, where it supplied flagship models with the Exynos CPU in select regions and Qualcomm-made Snapdragon silicon in others, like as the US. Meaning, the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra should be ready to employ the next Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 CPU. Digital Chat Station claims that the CPU will run at 4.6 GHz, with the GPU clocked at 1.2 GHz, while leaked software for the S26 Ultra points at the Snapdragon 8 Elite 2 chip as well. To put it into perspective, at the time of writing, the current quickest Android smartphone on the leaderboard hits 2,662,615 points. That might also be accompanied by a jump from 12 gigs RAM to 16 gigs. A graph from Macquarie Research says Samsung may be returning to 16 gigs RAM for the first time since the Galaxy S21 Ultra. That would make sense given AI expanding memory requirements and Samsung's marketing of Galaxy AI. And on that topic, there's speculation of Samsung integrating Perplexity into the company's Bing digital assistant. While nothing has yet been released about storage space, it seems safe to presume there won't be any advancement on the already available configurations. That's either at 256 gigs, 512 gigs, or 1 TB capacity. As for the battery, Samsung's Galaxy Ultra phones have maintained a 5000 mAh battery size since the Galaxy S20 Ultra came in 2020. Earlier in the year, it seemed this would finally change with the revelation that Samsung was looking into adopting silicon-carbon batteries, capable of cramming greater capacity into the same size. However, it now seems likely that Samsung will instead be using this as an opportunity to shrink the battery's footprint without impacting the capacity. Both Galaxy Club and Ice Universe claim that 5000 mAh is here to stay for another year. However, there is some good battery news for power users. Leaked code from One UI 8.5 shows that charging speeds may leap to 60 watt, a 15 watt improvement on the 45 watt charging of the S25 Ultra. On the camera site, Ice Universe reported that Samsung would resuscitate the variable rate aperture for the S26 Ultra. It would be the first time such a feature had emerged on a Samsung phone since the Galaxy S10 in 2018. Although, Samsung did offer a virtual aperture control with the S25 Ultra. However, in August, Ice Universe stated that the main camera will employ an f/1.4 aperture with the same 200 megapixels main sensor as the previous iteration. This, he later noted, should see 47% more light entering the camera, which should offer a decent boost to picture quality in low-light circumstances, with less noise. Elsewhere, Panda Flash Pro claims that Samsung is testing a 12-megapixel sensor for the 3x telephoto snapper, boosting the megapixel count from the 10 megapixels lens seen on the previous iteration. The leaker also mentions a new laser AF sensor for faster focusing speeds, as well as a next-gen Pro Visual engine to enhance picture processing. The 50 megapixels ultra-wide and 5x telephoto lenses are poised to remain the same. However, the front-facing camera will supposedly inherit features like 4K 120 frames per second slow-motion video recording. For starters, it sounds like the phone will be becoming thinner. The trusted tipster Ice Universe says that the phone will be between 7 and 8 mm thick with a slightly increased width and height. For perspective, the S25 Ultra is 0.32 inches, 8.1 mm thick, suggesting the change might barely be noticed or quite a huge difference, depending on where exactly it lands. Worryingly, for aficionados of the S Pen, this new thinness might be achieved by limiting the adaptability of the stylus. In June, the leaker Panda Flash Pro said that Samsung will be deleting the S Pen digitizer, which is responsible for features like pressure sensitivity and hovering choices, though he later claimed that Samsung were disappointed with test results. So presumably that means it's safe for now. More radically, the Korean leaker Crow has projected the S26 Ultra to be the first non-folding Samsung phone to employ an underscreen camera, abandoning the hole-punch-sized notch that's resided at the top of the screen on the company's phones since 2019. Even Samsung discontinued the 4MP underscreen camera from the previous Galaxy Z Fold 7. That's probably one to take with a pinch of salt, however. It would be immensely surprised if the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra weren't one of the greatest phones of 2026, but whether it will justify the price of an upgrade to existing flagship owners is less crystal cut. While it sounds like the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 and extra RAM will deliver unrivaled performance, other aspects sound more incremental, notably on the photographic side of things. But there's still a long time to go until the phone releases, and a few more exciting tweaks may flip this from one to watch to the most anticipated launch of 2026. So that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.